On this week's episode of the Superhero Show, we'll find out who America's favorite new couple of crime is on My Adventures with Superman, whether or not the boys need their safe word when they are getting their feet tickled, and if Sweet Tooth stuck the landing. All of that and more on an all-new episode of the Superhero Show. What's up, nerds? Welcome to the Superhero Show, podcast that watches only the best of the best comic book TV shows and reviews only those. My name is Cassie, and I will be your host for this week. I am joined by
You know what, Cassie? Actually, since how come? Why not? Since it's
Rude as
we're
fuck.
recording this on America's birthday. Let's just try. You introducing Mike first.
Oh, okay. And this is in honor of America?
And he loves America.
Okay, great.
On this, our last 4th of July.
Our very last 4th of July. It's a big one. I am, of course, joined by...
No. I hate it. No. Go back to me first.
No, Ryan, you put it out there. We're committing to it.
Please don't do this.
We're fucking doing it. It's for America. Respect this country. The red, do you respect it?
Neither the red nor the white, either the blue nor the gold.
Well, that's why you're not coming on first. You know who respects all three of those colors? That's my friend Mike.
I gotta tell you, when the new founding fathers take over and we have a new Independence Day, this kind of shenanigans and interrupting from Ryan will not be allowed to stand. You will get sent right to those internment camps.
Ooh, dang, I was gonna say timeout zone is where my mind went, but
that's what we call it for the first year, just so people are like, "What? No, we're not sending our enemies to prison camps. They go to the timeout zone, and then they're never heard from again." You two libs will rue the day.
Look at what you birthed. You brought this on here, Ryan.
Me? You introduced him first.
You created this. You set the scene of this boy loves the red, white, and blue.
Have you ever seen a smaller amount of power of getting introduced first go quicker to somebody's head?
And I wasn't even. You interrupted her host due diligence.
Just to get a word in so we could technically bring this guy on.
Hey, new listeners, if you are wondering what this wacky energy it is we are recording on 4th of July because fuck this country. This is how we're celebrating. We're celebrating each other.
Hey, new listeners, fuck this country. Great work.
It's what they expect.
And this is how America should be celebrated by talking about TV shows. This is the new America that everyone wants. Let's not respect our troops. Let's respect our writers. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, when the troop strike happens, then we'll respect them.
Oof. Don't ask for that, my friend. It'll come in the form of a drone.
Oof.
The drone strike. Oh, do the drones need more money?
This other voice that you heard, who's technically still hasn't been brought on yet by his request, is of course Ryan.
Hey everyone! Thank you so much for having me, Cassie. Mike, pleasure to see you. Happy 4th.
And also to you.
Do you guys think this is the last one?
I think there will be more 4ths of July. I don't think the Gregorian calendar will change, but it's probably the last free Independence Day.
It's not going to be the last day I'm going to pound a Four Loko and light up some fireworks, I'll tell you that much.
No, I mean, that's just a daily ritual for you.
Yeah.
How else do you wake up your neighbors?
Yeah.
It's the Riverside alarm clock.
They rely on me. They're not going to make it to work on time if I'm not launching off fireworks and pounding Four Lokos.
The redneck reveille.
I'm a hero in some parts, specifically Inland Empire of California. Guys, we got to stop talking about America. We simply have to. We're here to talk about TV shows, as I mentioned. This week, we are going to be covering The Boys, because you boys love The Boys. We're going to be talking about...
That'll definitely end this talk about America and its current situation when we talk about The Boys.
Yeah, for sure. Don't mention it at all. We'll then be talking about Spider-Man the Animated Series because we all love that little guy and what he's up to. We're going to dig into Spider-Man, My Adventures with Superman, not Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, My Adventures with Superman. It's all being a story being told by Spider-Man.
It's hot. Everyone should check it out. It's this new joint. But before we get to all of that, let's dive into the finale of Sweet Tooth. On the series finale of Sweet Tooth, multiple gangs of people are trying to make it to the big cave to find that tree of life. Gus gets there first, followed by Dr. Kim and Singh. Everyone screams, and finally Gus burns the motherfucker down. The good guys make it out alive, and most of them get to grow old. Taste buds, I ask you this. Did this show stick the landing?
Cassie, I've been thinking that all stories end, and ours ends here.
Keep rolling, what?
And the only way it could have been that we learn that little Gus is the voice we've heard all along.
Shut up. Is it really?
It is. I'm not lying.
Wow.
I'm a deer.
I can't believe we got Big Gus on the pod himself. I can't believe this.
I'm Big
I
Gus.
took a picture for you guys. I didn't think Mike was going to watch, but I took a picture for you guys. I'll send it to you right now because we can at least get Cassie's reaction to
What old Gus looks like?
James Brolin as old Gus.
Okay, I was wondering the whole time I was watching this episode. So to review behind the curtain listeners, Ryan didn't think I was going to watch it. He was like, "Oh, there's a shot I need to send you," and I was like, "Oh, okay." So instead of like paying attention to the plot or heavy emotional beats, I was just like, "What frame? What is it?"
And it was worth it. This is some Narnia Mr. Tumnus, like Santa Claus shit. This is we're in.
That is my next Halloween costume for sure. I was thinking that the whole time. And Wendy is his wife. She's the pig girl, Cassie. So yeah, I'm gonna make my wife dress up as a pig lady. She's not gonna understand any of it.
Be like, no, babe, I need you to put this on. This pig nose. Don't worry about it.
I'm gonna be Bear, and Cassie's gonna be Big Man, and the four of us will go trick or treating.
Becky with the good bear. Did we say that ever? Because I thought of that in the series finale. Finally.
Well, we'll probably go back into our previous episodes and drop that in.
Ryan, did you think it stuck the landing?
I was going to ask you that, Mike.
Eyes first.
I think.
Why weren't you going to ask me?
Cassie.
You didn't watch it, Cassie.
You're lazy.
Great.
Here's what I will say. The show is really counting on you getting so wrapped up in the emotion of the characters and the mystery that it asks you to ignore thousands of plot holes that are roughly the size of a giant tree of life. They just in the last back half of the season, but especially in this episode, they have just done whatever they want whenever they wanted to get to the dramatic scenes that they need.
Right, you've been talking about the Game of Thronesiness of it all. Of geography is nothing. I think frigid below temperature is nothing. So many people are just like in a hoodie and are totally fine.
Yeah.
I will say that they didn't try to explain it. It's like, I don't know, magic tree makes hybrid. Shut up. Don't look into it. And I was like, you know what, show? I'm so sick of other shows over-explaining shit. So this, like, is it fate? Who gives a fuck? Fine. Because I will say the relationships that I do care about, that I think they did the most on, of Becky Wendy, Gus Wendy, and Gus Big Man, all of those moments in this last season, but in this finale, hit for me. And even though there's a lot of cheese dickery in this finale, Gus talking to Big Man as he slowly dies, whoo! I don't give a shit what other stuff is cheesy. That all got to me.
And when you say slowly dies, you mean for a season and a half.
Yeah,
This guy has been dying.
Somebody, every half episode, somebody different would stab him. And even though all of his friends knew, everybody would pretend like he wasn't stabbed until he went, and they go, what? And he'd go, nothing. And a different part of his body would gush blood.
I think that here are the two big ones that stand out to me. And I think that they represent two different types of cheating, I guess. Mm-hmm. You're right about you all of a sudden became Brian Regan when you pitched the show about
the big yellow one's the sun. That Brian Regan? I just want to make sure we're talking about the same.
That was more of like a Stallone child. Like in the new show Stallone Babies, they all talk like that. But that Dr. Kim is so intent on doing this. Like the ticking clock of the show is her pregnant daughter.
Yeah.
She doesn't want her to give birth to a hybrid. And if we figure out the thing, her vagina will just know, the disease is over. I will take these antlers.
Yeah, the whole time I was like, this is not how fetal development happens, man. That thing was animal in the third trimester.
Which I wish some doctor would have said that to her.
Well, Dr. Singh was like, well, I'm not a doctor anymore, so I'm not going to tell her this.
And again, it's Dr. Kim and Singh Oh, you mean the Singh is the actual doctor? I thought you meant my karaoke name, Dr. Singh.
You are Dr. Singh, S-I-N-G. This is the character Dr. Singh, S-I-N-G-H. The character Helen Zhang played Dr. Kim in the OC, which is how we know of her. All right, what's up, new listeners? How y'all doing?
Kid from Tito goes to high school. Dr. Kim principal. Is Brian ringing a caveman? Okay. The other cheat I love that I think that we probably it happens all the time in movies, and whether or not we pick it out and talk about it is, I think, to the movie or TV shows, favor.
Yeah.
Like, is this show doing a good job? We noticed less. Birdie and Big Man and Gus had a whole Raiders of the Lost Ark intro trying to get into the big tree. It was very difficult. There was freezing cold water. There was frozen flowers that were waking up to poison them. Many ordeals. Yeah. Then they turn around 5 seconds after being there, and Dr. Kim from the OC and her entire gang is just there, totally fine.
Well, they have the power of cowboys, Ryan.
Oh, it's the hats and the spurs and the buttless chaps.
Well, the butts should be definitely in the chaps. There should be butt.
No, this is all hanging out, especially in Alaska. Good. These are frozen tushies.
Great.
So yeah, it's stuff like that you can roll your eyes about, or you can hate on.
Right.
I bet that happened all over the internet. Is people like, if anybody was watching this, it's just like, this makes the show stupid. But ultimately, especially compared to a lot of other streaming shows that we watch that really are just have hours and hours of episodes for seemingly no reason with almost no emotion, I will say that ultimately this season and this show was a success.
And you're so many of our shows, but that's been the Netflix school of thought is just put flashy bullshit every once in a while, play a fun song. Like Netflix has forgotten how to show human character. And you're right, Ryan. If you just give us a couple characters to actually care about, we'll let the other shit slide.
We need actors to care about. That's why they're called care actors.
Actors.
It's right there in the name.
Exactly.
It's not that hard.
That's how they got their name.
Let's get to the biggest mystery part. I've been predicting most of the season that Big Man can't make it out, along with Butcher. We've had the Big Man Butcher death race 2000 all season.
Yeah.
And then at the end, Gus sits him down. They make it out of the cave. Gus sits him down and tells him a story that Big Man's not in. He's like, what about someone who looks like me? And Gus like, oh, fuck yeah, Big Man was there too.
Yeah, we're choosing syrup and chugging it, and that's how you know that is not real. Gus is lying.
These bitches get their maple on. And then we flash forward to the future, and all the kids are happy. We make it all the way up to Antler Brolin, and Big Man is there for part of it.
No, that's the part that it's the lie. Is in the journey, Gus is telling him, he's like, yeah, we go back to the sanctuary, and these happens, and Big Man walks out, and they cheers the syrup. Big Man never left Alaska, my friend.
This to me is very ham-fisted and heavy-handed. With a heavy ham, did I watch this show?
So you're saying Wendy got a little... She was a heavy ham by the end of her life? She's the pig girl.
More pig jokes from you.
Yeah. What part of it was like the fact that he made it out, or like
the whole attempt to make us question what's going on and try to... I think that they tried to do something that has been done much better in other stories, and it just sort of fell apart. I don't think that they achieved what they meant to of including Gus in the stories. As Gus will become this folk hero.
Right.
Or I'm sorry, Big Man will become this folk hero.
Gotcha. Did it feel like it was because they rushed it? Well, I mean, he slowly died a whole season, so I feel like that's insane. But this part, was it they just kind of squished an ending and just made it in Happily Ever After? It just
it felt more like having our cake and eating it too, instead of making decisions. This can be done very well, where we sort of, I watched Furiosa recently, and there is a similar ending that is also about stories. I thought that Sweet Tooth is the only thing that can be about stories. I thought they had dibs on that, and they've had it for years. But I think even in Furiosa, a disappointing movie, did this whole thing better of what happens with legends and lore and characters. I feel like I know what they were trying to do, and it just didn't work.
Gotcha. Was Big Man the only one who RIP'd? Took the big nap?
No, Singh, for his... he's a character I think I will like. Like by the end of it, like not like the actions he does, but I think he is a good character because most shows a guy is a bad guy and then he flips and he's like, now I'm a good guy. And Singh the whole time has had his own agenda, and I think the actor does a lot of the work here. But up until midway through this series finale, it looked like he was going to kill Gus to save humanity. And finally, I think Gus at some point gives a speech of, I thought humans were worth saving. I think I was wrong. And I think that gets to Singh. And Singh shoves Gus out of the way as magical falling rocks are killing people. And sacrifice himself. And it's not like crunch done. He slowly withers away. Like he probably starves to death or bleeds out under those rocks. It is not a quick death.
Dang.
But I thought it was a good end to the character.
And let's not forget about his final move, which is saves Gus, tells them how to get to safety, and then slowly holds up one antler to the camera, saying, "Yes, I accept animal parts."
I don't know if I caught that.
No?
No.
Somebody who wasn't a hybrid, but might as well be based on her fucking name, Birdie, also does not make it out. Singh accidentally stabs her to death.
Well, she died last week, but
Oh, that was last week?
Birdie dead this whole finale. She's just like the Jigsaw in the first Saw movie. Her corpse is just in the middle of all the drama of this episode in that cave.
And people stop tripping over the body. Like, move it out of the way or something.
Should we go to moments of the week?
Yeah.
Okay. Ryan, you go.
I'm going to go. I thought that there was actually a pretty well done action scene here towards the beginning of the episode. Now, this might have been last episode of the episode before that. I watched all 3 of them this week. But the thing that culminates in Wendy just fucking hucking dynamite video game style towards a bunch of barrels filled with oil, and the camera goes down and really focuses on the sticker that says flammable on the oil can, so we know. And use of slow motion that I thought would absolutely seem hacky as they all like turn corners with their guns or their bats or their crowbars or whatever. That whole segment, I think, helped put us in the place where we could be like, all right, goodbye to the action portion of this series. Mm-hmm. Now let's get to all of the ending. Was that the second to last episode?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool.
And Mike, what about yours?
Mine was in this episode.
Great. I love that.
But it's a mystery. Let's move on. No, I love Becky, aka Bear. I think she's a dope character. And Ryan mentioned Furiosa. She definitely pulls something out of the Mad Max universe where she's in like a fast moving snowmobile and jumps off of it because the people on her team has been firing harpoons to drain the diesel out of the bad guy's truck, right? Overly complicated. But this 14-year-old who has no training jumps from one moving vehicle to another, fights off a dog boy, attaches a chain to his back so he can't get to her to succeed, and then goes in and fucks with the guy driving. All of it was rocked, and I love that character, and it was cool.
Oh, and then my other moment of the week that Mike sort of brought up is the little cute fox girl.
Oh, yeah.
Who has to be blowing up on the internet if you go to websites that I would never go to. Just seems like created for a certain type of weirdo. She suggests to do what like her dad used to do.
Oh, yeah.
And then her mom's like, oh, yeah. Yeah, how do you kill whales? And I was like, well, I know it's harpoons, but obviously you have something else. You're going to say something cool. And she was like, harpoon.
Yeah, I thought they were going to be like big fucking guns or something like the same way you kill anything else. Lightning.
With storms lightning.
This little Mad Max part, you guys have done it. You've convinced me I should go back and watch this season. So you know what? I say it stuck the landing.
Although, Cassie, I would skip maybe the last 5 minutes because we didn't talk about me and Mike's actual moment of the week.
Okay.
Your boy's back.
Which boy? The little gopher dude?
Oh, yeah.
Bobby?
Bobby's back.
That's there's the image where I was like, oh, this is what Ryan meant, is not only is Bobby back, but he's on like a baby Bjorn on the Elephant Kid as both of them like 8-handed fix something as they're building their new Robin Hood Prince of Thieves village.
Fuck this show. Actually, fuck this show.
Cassie, Bobby's back on Baby Bjorn.
That is the worst thing.
Blissfully, he doesn't have any lines.
Great. But do I get to see? Do I have to see his fucked up face with his little two spread apart eyes that never focus in on one spot?
give me a hug.
Bobby,
Cassie,
get off
tickle
here.
my feet so I can rub one out.
Bobby, you freak. Well, that's the end of Sweet Tooth. It went out how it should on a freak note. If you want to watch it, it's on Netflix, and that's all the time we have to talk about that. But I do have some time to talk about a website, which I believe, Mike, you've been working on for a hot minute.
Yeah. I will never have kids because I
Yeah.
don't believe in the future, but I do want to make money off of those who do have kids. And I know that kids, they want cool street cred. They want music, right? They want things that are neat. And
They
so
love music.
go to
and street cred.
Peter, Baby Bjorn, and John, and that is where I'm selling my Baby Bjorns. That each one, a la the Hallmark cards that play 45 seconds of a song. The minute you put your baby in this Peter, Baby Bjorn, and John, it will start playing a different indie song from the early 2000s. Yeah, there's a lot of the whistling tunes.
What if
And a lot about songs like about home
Yeah.
and like violins
Take
and
Me
fiddles for no
Home.
reason.
I love this idea, but what if you start to realize that your baby isn't soothed by these sounds? What are you gonna do for those parents?
What do you mean? Oh, well,
Never mind.
we have our Peter, Baby Bjorn, and John After Dark series, and that's you're gonna get your Enter Sandman's, your Mudvayne's Dig, your Slipknot's Wait and Bleed. So yeah, there's the heavier set. So if whistling doesn't do it for your baby, maybe some drop D tunage will.
Perfect.
And
And it's
this-
gonna be one of those too.
Does it like vibrate to the beat of the music or anything?
Yeah.
Is this like a D box at the movie theater?
It's a D box at the movie theater. I definitely know what this means.
Now let's talk about design here.
Mm.
We got any cool prints on these baddies?
Oh, of course. Each one, like the shins, it'll be the cover of O Inverted World and that thick fabric that's supposed to be cleanable but isn't at all. That baby shit comes in.
Mhm.
So stuff like that.
What about the ones that play like the song 1999?
What would that be?
Yeah, any cool prints there?
That's the coolest Prince. It's Prince's fingerprints.
Fuck.
Fingerprints, ew.
Never mind. Gross. Well, Mike, I believe in this product, and more specifically, I believe in you.
Thank you. Oh my-
but I don't
you don't
believe in
know
your
how
ability to-
much I needed that.
Oh, that's good. But hold on to this because I don't believe you can make a website.
Oh.
But I believe you can make a great product. But because you can't make a website, I'm gonna send you over to my friends. That's cybersprout.net. Have you heard of them?
You know what? It rings a bell, but not really. Could you inform me?
I would love to. They got design experts and they're well versed in digital strategy, elegant design, and they combine the two masterfully. That's how you say that word.
Masturbatorially.
They work hand in hand with you. Get it?
Mhm.
Cybersprout.net, your partner for a digital world. Go check them out. They'll handle everything website for you. That is it for this segment. Let's go talk about more TV shows. All right, we're back to talk about more shows. Starting it off, let's talk about The Boys.
On episode 406 of The Boys, the endgame is starting to appear as Homelander reveals his Project 2025 to some select billionaires at Tech Knight's house party, while Huey is getting tortured by the aforementioned Tech Knight and Ashley, but not tortured in the way they think he is. Meanwhile, Butcher and Kessler are playing bad cop, worst cop with Samir to get him to cook up a Homelander-killing virus, which reveals something interesting to Butcher. Tacey Ryan asks you this. With all the pieces moving in place, what do we think Sage's goal is?
Probably keep getting shot in the fucking head. So she could like enjoy cake and stuff.
Yeah, she
And
loves
this
that
was
cake.
This is a weird episode for Cake. Lots of different feelings towards Cake going on here. We'll get to all of them, absolutely. But I was kind of stoked about Mother's Milk shooting Sage
Right.
in the head. Not that I don't like Sage's character, and it's not that I'm mad at that actress for being in the show Powers and want her gone, but I just thought it was like it was a big move,
Bold.
like a big permanent move
Yeah.
that isn't the kind of thing that is often done on this show, you know, like especially a week after Huey's dad dying, which I do want to shout out. You and super guest star Nate did a wonderful job covering the end of Simon Pegg's run on this show. But yeah, like so I was I was hoping that was going to be a little bit more permanent. Instead, I think what we get is the big bad of this show is now very clearly, and there is no curtains to draw back here. There is no subtext to crawl through. It is our current country and the current situation.
Yeah, it's the billionaires. Homelander pitches what I'm calling his Project 2025. If you don't know what that is, go read it up and be a little horrified, folks. And the billionaires are like, "Are you a child? Who's going to deal with the Justice Department? Who's going to do this?" And he's like, I don't know. While these billionaires who we thought were going to be stupid like the rest of the humans need out of his hand, dress him down in a way nobody has because nobody has powers, but they have real power, which is, of course, money. And then Newman has to save his ass politically because that's what she is actually good at.
Yeah, Ashley's gone, right? Homelander's basically given her the boot, and a lot of times she would handle stuff like that. Maybe not with policy, but with smoothing things
PR.
over. Sage is in the corner as a cake eater, so he looks at her multiple times, like, "Are you gonna jump in here?" And she's just noshing down on food. I don't know why. Was the bullet just placed so perfectly that it gave her brain damage and not killed her?
I think she died, but like her superpower is the same reason a few episodes deep could lobotomize her. Is her brain will always heal and grow back.
She's got Wolverine brain.
She's got Wolverine brain. And
I see.
So I think she did die, but then she came back and just takes a while.
Okay, so that is his superpower, and maybe MM should have shot her literally anywhere else if that's the case.
Well, he didn't know.
But yeah, I think that one of the most revealing, telling parts of this episode is that when Homelander starts his speech to the billionaires, he's like, the others, the brown people, they're getting in from the border. They're attacking. They're ruining this country. The libs and the Mexicans. And they're like, don't fucking boogeyman us.
Yeah.
Like, we already know that's bullshit. We made that up to scare other people. Like, you have to tell us the real stuff. And he was like, oh, I don't know the real stuff, though.
Who do we think is like that, who doesn't know the real stuff, but does have unnaturally dyed hair and thinks he's a superhero?
And pulls his gray pubes out and probably saves them.
And drinks from all the milky titties.
Is it Joseph Robindale Biden?
It's probably Joseph Robindale Biden, who I don't think is anybody's name.
What's his middle name? Robinson.
I think it's Robinette.
Robinette.
Like a little Robin.
Much manlier.
He's a little Robin.
Little baby Robin.
His name is Joe Robin. Yes. Okay. Weird middle name. His name is Joe. I will name my baby Joe Robinette. But yeah, and then Newman steps up, and she is at that point that I think so many Trump lackeys are, where they're like, we're just too far in. You know, it's either like drop out, let the libs win, potentially go to jail, or just push this experiment of America all the way to its breaking point, and that's where Newman is.
And she's interesting because she is on the lib side, politically, outwardly, right? But so now, because all of them are like, why is she here? And it's she is a craven politician, so she is going to jump to whatever side she can get the most power out of.
Yeah, and I think like a lot of these politicians are just like, they don't understand the repercussions. They just have this one mode of go forward. This is in the show and in real life. And they do become like used car salesmen who just, this is my job, is just to get as much money from people as possible. I don't think about the repercussions for me or them.
6 months out tops.
Whatever. Right. And so I do think that they think that America has this elasticity to bounce back from all the damage they're doing. They just can't stop now. And I'm starting to think that might not be true, Mike.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't even think it's, oh, America will be fine. It's fill my pockets. That's all that matters.
Well, then why don't we put candy or something in there? Like, why? Let's fill their pockets.
Let's fill their pockets. But like so many movies are, they're going to fill those pockets, and then the water's going to come in, and then that's what will drown them, hopefully. But I think by revealing the big bad is billionaires and the system itself, I think the boys, no matter who wins, we all lose. Just like in real life.
And Sage is the one who sort of talks Newman into this before her brain damage by saying, I cured cancer and the doctors laughed at me, so I watched my grandmother die painfully. I could cure cancer again. It would take me 5 minutes. But the only way that women like us are going to be ever listen to or ever get anything done, rather. They're never going to be listened to, but ever get anything done is to have one hand in their pockets, which I do think has a double meaning, and then one hand at their throats.
Yeah.
And you just can't telegraph it. Men telegraph the strength with nothing behind it.
Right.
Women have to telegraph weakness and have all the strength.
Yes.
Basically.
A la Alanis Morissette, they got one hand's in their pockets. The hand slitting a fucking throat. But yeah, that's
Next time
why I'm glad Sage
Go
didn't
ahead.
die. And I think she isn't the big bad. I think she's just the smartest person in the room without any scruples and is moving literally everybody. I think everything that everybody does except for Butcher, because nobody knows what's going on in that guy's brain right now, she is manipulating all of it and is going to come out on top.
Newman also has said something that I think is really telling, where she says, "You guys are the billionaires. Everyone in this room is a billionaire." I think at one point Sage says that 80% of the country's wealth is in this room right now or something.
Yeah.
And she says, "You guys are billionaires, so obviously you're smart enough to know what to do. Why would we have restrictions on what you can do if you made it to a billionaire? You're obviously smart enough to know." And I do think that is a lot of what people on the other side of us think.
Yes.
Is poor people, is that they wouldn't be there if they weren't smart.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing that these people aren't smart enough to know, and I'm interested to see how Sage is going to deal with it, it really feels like that these brilliant billionaires do not have long-term plans about how things should work.
Right.
It really is just get that money now. And I want to see it. I wanted to ask you, Mike, if one of the untalked about characters, at least on this show so far, I don't think we've given enough due, is A-Train.
Yeah.
And A-Train has multiple moments in this episode, like he has all season, and he is becoming a lead, if not of his own story, not the ensemble story. From this movie that he's making with Will Ferrell, that is obvious trash, to his dealings with his family, to kind of stabbing Homelander in the back, and he was the leak for what happened when the libs fought the conservatives earlier.
Yeah, he's the
What
double
do you think
agent.
of A-Train's story so far?
I like this guy a lot. And I like it because it doesn't, and maybe this is the story lover in me, not the reality believer in me. It doesn't make sense for everybody who's this deep for none of them to flip. And I think they're dealing with his multiple identities very well. He is a superpowered fascist, but he's also a black man. So he has to deal with both of those truths at once. And depending on what room he's in, those identities will come out stronger. And that he does have a bit of a heart. Yeah, I think when this show ends, we're going to zoom out and be like, oh, we thought it was Huey's journey and it was A-Train's journey the whole time.
Yeah, just like how The Office turned out to be about Pam the entire time. There's, I think, an incredible scene in here where they're at Tech Knight's house, and the way that Tech Knight talks to him, talking about how this wealth doesn't come from entertainment. That can make you a multimillionaire. This is 11 generations of wealth.
Yeah.
That's the only way to be a billionaire. And that's not from brilliance, might I add. That doesn't make him brilliant. His family has been rich for that long because they were given that ability. And he brings up to A-Train how the whole family started with slave catchers.
Yes.
And A-Train sort of realizes in that moment that he is one of the most powerful people in the world, both literally power, right? Superpower, but also with fame and what he can do to affect the world. He's one of the most powerful people in the country or the planet. And when he gets into these rooms, his blackness will always define him first.
Right.
His otherness will always define him before any other power does. And Tech Knight makes sure to let him know that you're in this room, but you're lucky to be, because my great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather probably would have and did catch yours.
Yeah, and he basically does say that. He's like, if great granddad was alive, he'd love chasing you, or some disgusting, crazy shit.
Yeah.
Is it time for moments of the week?
Yeah, the only thing we didn't get to is the quote unquote big thing, but I don't actually care. Is it revealed that Jeffrey Dean Morgan Kessler was in Butcher's head just like Becca has been the whole time. So they are the angel and the devil in Butcher's brain, making him do things.
Yeah, he talks. Jeffrey Dean Morgan talks to Becca,
That
and Butcher's like, "Wait a minute."
that reveal
governor."
was that was pretty good. And then a beat, and I was like, no, all this makes sense. But that first reveal where he's like, "Shut the fuck up," to Becca trying to get Butcher to do something good, I was like, oh.
And then we get a clip show.
That's what
a
I
flashback.
didn't need.
Yeah, we understand what's happening
Yeah.
to boys, but we do get to see All these times where Butcher was with Jeffrey Dean Morgan, he was actually by himself. And I think one of them should have been outside of a bar and getting punched or punching somebody in the ear, and Jeffrey Dean Morgan just wasn't there.
And going to hand him the beer and it just drops on the ground.
Or at a dinner table with his wife, and it turns out that none of them were ever there because the sixth sense.
But that is clear that like the big moment for the show thought was going to be the big moment this episode, and it's not. They did so many other things well this episode.
Yeah, I don't think we had our big farm set piece like we did last week, which again you and Nate crushed talking about. And that was truly like that was some bravura filmmaking at the farm.
The farm ruled.
But one more thing I want to talk to you about before we get out of here is that Huey is raped, and raped for a while. And although it's not maybe your textbook, what you think of as rape, like sexually assaulted for what could be hours on end. And one of the very last things in this episode is we see that Huey's not taking it all that well, that it's really hard to have that happen to you. And he sort of flips it to him being sad about his dad. And it's also a little bit played for laughs. And I'm a little bit worried about how the boys handles all this happening to Huey.
I think the in scene as it was happening was played for laughs. I think Huey's breakdown with Annie was played pretty straight. Because Annie didn't make fun of him. None of the other boys were there to be like, oh, some people pay to get tickled, blah, blah, blah. Like, it just like the emotion I thought hung there in that scene pretty well.
Yeah. We'll see if this is a continued through line. Because, again, but he did like mostly talk about his dad. So are we just going to deal with all of Huey's trauma, which is what TV is all about now? Or are we going to actually focus on the fact that he had all of this happen to him?
No, it's going to be all
Tech Nights
wound together.
Yeah.
Moment of the week?
Yeah. Me?
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys remember this, but about 5 years ago, probably, which means 10 or 15, if you're talking to me, there was this trend online where a lot of people were paying to either have cakes sent to them or just watch videos of cakes being farted on, and where you could see the frosting take a little indent because of the blast of air out of the butt. I forgot about that trend, and I thought if I had remembered, I would have thought, oh, we're done with this forever. The boys brings it back in full glory in this episode, and I had no choice to make it my moment of the week. Fart cake.
Fart cake. Mine is in the big billionaire room. Sage is sitting in the corner. It's before she's housing the cake. Newman goes in there, and they give each other like little like what up nods. We have the secret plan within the secret plan, and they do the back and forth nod after Newman has done her like I saved Homelander's ass, and then Sage gives her the nod again, and Newman's like, okay, I guess I'll nod again back, and then Sage is just like nodding enthusiastically at her, and it was very fucking funny. It doesn't all have to be blood and cum to make people laugh. Them nodding at each other while Newman is confused at what's happening was so funny.
The Boys is on Thursdays on Prime. Next up, let's talk about My Adventures with Superman. On the 7th episode of season 2 of My Adventures with Superman, Lois and Jimmy have come up with a mission to go to space and bring Clark, and all they need to do to pull this off is break into Star Labs and steal a spaceship. In order to get this all done, they recruit Livewire and her hot girlfriend Heatwave, and Jimmy's best pals, and my new favorite characters, Moolah and the Brain. Taste buds, I ask you, have you known about Moolah and the Brain the whole time and just been hiding it from me?
Yeah, they were in an episode in season 1.
That's what it seemed like, and I fucking love these two little guys.
They're fucking awesome.
They're so
and in
good.
Doom Patrol, weren't they?
I do think they showed up for an episode of Doom Patrol. They are in the beat, like they're in one of the weirder corners of DC. I don't think they're always lovers.
Okay.
That's one of the things this show made better. And the way Moolah and the Brain tell stories, it's like paper doll versions of themselves adventuring. I could use all of that all the time.
At first, it was a real up and down moment for me. I saw him come on the screen, and I was like, oh, come on, dude. And then they started to talk, and I was like, you guys fucking nailed it. This is gold. You nailed it.
Honestly, we don't have. I don't have the DC comic knowledge that I do with Marvel. I've never read them in a comic before. Like the first thing I said was Doom Patrol. Maybe they were in, because I don't even have TV knowledge either. I don't even know if they were on that show. But I see what you're saying, Cassie. In that, when they first come on screen, you're like, oh, did you spin a wheel of weird shit, and it came up brain and gorilla, and now they're here. Okay, cool. But that's just what they look like.
Yeah.
That's just the initial premise. Once they start talking to our characters and with each other, then you're like, all right, be here forever, please. Get a spin-off show as fast as possible.
They're delightful. They were the perfect addition to this whole crew that was needed for the heist. As soon as I saw the title and it's like Jimmy's 11 or
Olsen's
whatever.
11, because Jimmy's 11 isn't a pun,
Come-
you jackass.
Ocean and Olsen are basically the same word, Cassie. Jimmy's
This would be
11.
the only thing you two would jump on so enthusiastically to scream at me for, is the fact that I didn't get the little pun thing and said the name wrong. You fucking assholes.
You gave it right.
Yes.
You're the fucking asshole.
You fucking
You didn't have to bring it up at all. Show your whole
I
ass.
did.
You're showing your whole ass.
Why don't you put on some ass full chaps instead of wearing those chaps that show your whole ass?
You take it back, not on this day of America. Ass needs to be out. But yes, sorry, Olsen's 11. And from
Thank
the
you.
title, I was hyped because it's going to be a good little heist, and them having to break into Star Labs and recruit like mercenaries and like the evil, just fun.
Last week, I believe we had none of these people. And so now we have the opposite side of last week's episode, where it is all of the side characters
Yeah.
and then Superman. No, Superman, rather. Is this considered bold in today's TV landscape that they would do something like this?
Split up the main cast like that?
Instead of taking these two episodes, right, make it a two-parter and then go Superman, Olsen's 11, Superman, Olsen's 11. They did it this way. And I was surprised and just a little bit stoked to see something different.
Right. And what I appreciate is in both episodes, then it's room to breathe. And so characters get good moments, because if they were A plot, B plotting it, there would be no little character moments. So much of Mulala and the brain would just be there. Not wait, Malala's that girl.
Yeah, are you thinking of Malala and the Brain, where that the freedom fighter and a cartoon mouse try to take over the world?
Mullah and the brain.
That's why they couldn't separate it. 100%. We needed it as much screen time for those two, and they knew it.
And it's not just those two. Those two rule too. But like, I think Livewire has always been like a fun, spunky bad guy. But for her to be like this anti-hero, we can work on the same side sometimes if you literally empty your bank account. And learning more about her and Heatwave, I didn't know they were together, and like how much those two believe in love is endearing as shit.
So precious.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that was a reveal for everybody watching, that like they hadn't established that, and that's never been the case in the comic books, right?
No, well, Heatwave is Mick Rory, and here they just call her Rory. Heatwave is the old grizzled guy from fucking Prison Break in Legends of Tomorrow. It's the same character,
Right.
So no, they did not ever do that before.
Yeah, you were talking about these character moments gave everyone like a moment to shine and everything, and it's redeemed Jimmy for me this episode. I've been on the rocks with Jimmy, but I like Jimmy in this episode. Am I alone? How are you, Ryan? Because I know you joined me on that fuck Jimmy.
I mean, I'm glad that the money tracker is officially at 0.
Yeah.
And it's like Livewire knew it, could see it above his head.
Yeah.
And so he was like, I will give you some money. And she was like, more. And then it just bing out. She zeroed out the bank account. And so we don't have to deal with that anymore. Yeah, Jimmy, like, I think that the biggest problem is that, because we had talked about in the introduction of Kara, how Jimmy was acceptable, if not likable in that episode. And I think it's that Jimmy needs to be given stuff to do that isn't just proving that the writers have heard about new media.
Right.
And are trying to use the lingo that they've learned from their children about how like YouTube live works. And so when he actually is making decisions and being a hero in whatever capability that he can be, then it works a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And he's back, like, you know, he's always been like a good friend, and this is the one where he's keeping Lois from just like going more towards the general side of like, there's an enemy, we take him out, we kill him.
Yeah.
And he's like,
Somebody
hey.
needs to, Cassie. She needs to be on 24/7 watch or she's going to die.
Yeah, she's going through it right now because she really thinks she's blaming herself a lot for Clark being gone, which, I mean, you did break up for him, but I don't believe you were a part of him being gone.
Correct.
But you know how it
You
be.
know.
And then we got to the ending, which was perfect. Of their spaceship stops. The brain's seatbelt doesn't work as well as he wanted it to, and so he flies all over the spaceship. And who stopped them was Kara. So now our storylines are connected for the next episode, which I couldn't be more stoked about. Probably the most excited for the next episode than I've been all season.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're gonna get Mulan and the brain. The fact that they're still in that spaceship is really.
One is a genius and the other's a French ape.
He can do tech stuff though.
Yeah.
That ape can really, really do some things.
That ape can do some things.
Don't say it like that.
Why?
Now
What
I
did I
sound
say?
like a weirdo. Now I sound like a weirdo, Mike, and that's on you.
You're
Not
the
because of
one,
thing
and I
said,
quote
but-
Cassie, host of Superhero Show. That ape could do some things.
Right. Well, I've never seen a clearer sign to end a segment as this. Let's go to moments of the week. Ryan, do you have another one besides the brain rolling around in the spaceship?
That was hilarious. And I do think that this is a time-honored tradition of groups of people in genre movies, particularly sci-fi, whether it's R2-D2 or Rocket Raccoon. You need someone in your group smaller than everybody else. And then shit like this happens to them. It's just it's a necessity. But I have to give it my moment of the week to Silver St. Cloud's fat ass that did not make an appearance in this episode, but was on my phone the entire time while I was watching this. So
Yeah, it hovered
goddamn
over.
girl,
The spirit of that fat ass hovered over the whole episode. I wasn't on that episode where Ryan was just drooling over this cartoon.
Did you see the episode of?
Oh, I
Superman,
did.
though?
I
Did you-
did.
did you go back
But I
and
know to
re-look
keep
at
that
that
shit to
ass?
myself.
Well, we're different people.
This is where you could say things, and it's a trusted space. That ape can do things, and they have an ass.
The
What
amount of money I
um,
would pay for a video of the ape cheating on his brain friend with Silver St. Cloud's thick
Well, they
ass.
both fart on a cake.
Mike, what's your
Correction,
moment?
baby.
Hey, new listeners.
Cakes.
I don't know why I assume in this episode we're gonna get a bunch of new listeners.
It's only new.
I have two. One is another brain. One is when they're fighting, like all the robots and Task Force Ask or whoever is coming at them before they can get to the spaceship. The brain is shooting a real laser gun, but also going pew 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 pew. He's making the sounds with his brain mouth. And then we learn that Lex Luthor and Slade Wilson do not like each other.
Oh yeah,
And they are having a back and forth. And Lex Luthor says, "I didn't join this organization to be middle managed by a wannabe ninja." And I thought that was a great little mic drop. And I would love to see just we're at the office, we're not fighting superheroes style episode, just about the two of them doing office shenanigans on each other to get mommy Amanda Waller's approval.
yeah. And Luther is hitting that mommy thing with Mandy really hard. It's like, oh, mommy doesn't like you anymore.
I mean, it's on brand for Luther. My moment of the week, I got just the turn in the love story between Livewire and Heatwave, because the whole time I thought we were having this little lesbian breakup, and I was like, I'm devastated for my girl. And then we find out that they believe in love so much that they had to go back so Lois can get the Clark and save them, go against their roots and being selfish, and they went back and saved them, and it was adorable. It was a great episode.
It was.
If you want to check it out, it's on Max. New episodes come on Saturday. Let's take a break, and then when we return, we'll talk about Spider-Man the Animated Series. Welcome to S Tasmania, bitch, a mini show within a show where we take an in-depth, episode-by-episode look at the seminal and underrated afternoon cartoon from the mid-90s, Spider-Man the Animated Series. This week, we watched Chapter 5, Sins of the Father, Rocket Racers. And when we pick up, it is a wild moment for me with Felicia laying it hard on Spider-Man specifically, and Spider-Man turning down Felicia. Insane.
This is, I think what we have here is a Chase Meridian, Dr. Chase Meridian example, Cassie, of course.
Of course.
It's from Batman Forever. Trick.
Oh, yeah. Did you call me a trick?
I did.
It's been so long since I've been called a trick. Thank you so much.
Mike, please. She's an illusion. So yeah, I didn't. Did I miss something at the end of the last episode? Because they're on the balcony about to get married.
There's the fewest amount of seconds that there has ever been in between last episode ending and this episode beginning, because they kiss at the end of last episode on the balcony. She peels up the mask, smooches him right side up, and then this episode is the immediate aftermath of him being like, Spider-Man can't have a girlfriend. It'd be too dangerous for both of us.
Do you think she's into boys and girls? Is this a bi Felicia situation?
I think so.
Absolutely, yeah.
But then eventually later we get the fact that she's not in love with Spider-Man the hero, but somebody else, a little dork named Peter Parker. And that is straight up Dr. Chase Meridian. I don't know which one came first. It might have been the same day for all I know.
Yeah.
That this episode.
One writer
that
pitched both houses.
But I will never forget that part of Batman Forever where Val Kilmer goes in full Batman garb to Dr. Chase Meridian's house. And she says, I did want to fuck you, but now I love somebody else. His name is Bruce Wayne. And then Val Kilmer turns to the camera and smiles. Bitch, you put on your entire costume to get rejected by some doctor and you're going to smile about that?
That's his kink. And then he's going to go think about how he got rejected in costume and fart in a cake.
God damn it. I got to go fart in a cake.
Did you know this many things could be brought back to farting on a cake? I didn't.
Well, you're the odd man out.
Apparently. After we have this little breakup moment, we then cut to a dude in just a giant ass wheel breaking into a bank with all of his lackeys in little robot gear.
Yeah, first we see just like dudes in like green gear and they have rocket packs. They're like, okay, like sort of futuristic. And then Big Wheel keeps on turning. Then you learn they are all the hooligans for Big Wheel.
They're the Proud Marys, and they're here to rob a bank. The giant wheel seems unnecessary the entire time.
No. That's someone who is a monster truck enthusiast. I could tell you the size of the wheel, perfect. The spikes on the wheel, perfect. Its design, perfect. Needed. The way it could climb through walls, yet also break through them. I love everything about this big wheel.
Here's what you didn't see though. I watched the behind the scenes of this, and instead of having one driver stationary inside the wheel, there's just one guy going around the wheel as fast as possible, and he's screaming and pissing.
Flawless design on this big wheel.
If the guy wasn't in the Big Wheel, he could constantly talk about gyroscopes and how he's a perfect engineer and is so good at timing.
It's all timing. I don't understand this wheel. The man is in the wheel, mainly just to be like, this needs to be timed perfectly. He's just screaming at these guys as they like throw bags to each other. He's like, yes, the timing is perfect. Yes, great. And I'm like, what are you here for?
He was basically George Michael from Arrested Development saying he's such a good percussionist because he's always punctual. Because it's all about the timing.
That's 2 Arrested Development references on this episode. So, Cassie, you make yours whenever you do that, and we'll be done for the day. I think that the writer just went to look up science, accidentally typed in timing, and he was like, well, there we go. Timing, gyroscopes.
This has something to do with it.
After we get them, we get the flash to the pharmacy, and this neighborhood pharmacist knows so much about this kid's life.
Dude.
How's your chlamydia, dear? Is it clearing up?
He tells his assistant, he's like, well, he used to be a bad boy, but he really
not
turned
his
himself
assistant.
No, like another
random customer. The only other person in the store, and I picked her up because she watched this guy leave the store, and classic white woman keeping eyes on the black kid the entire time, and then the pharmacist hops over his little desk and runs to the customer.
Let me tell you about Robert.
Oh, that's little Robert. He's used
gonna
to
be
steal
a rocket
bubblegum from a
racer.
store.
And he does sell Robert his mom's meds at cost, which is pretty nice.
Like a homie. Yeah, they introduce Robert, who looks like a 28-year-old man, but is in high school, I believe.
Yeah.
And he's there. He's got to pick up his medicine for his mom because this is his life now. He's now a good kid and he takes care of his mom. But he's also a sick skateboarder. This is so important that he's a sick skateboarder and he's good at science. These are the things we know about Robert, and he's turned his life around thanks to the pharmacist. We know this.
But he's not so sick that he doesn't remember to snap on his helmet.
Well, yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean,
the kids have to respect him. This is the 90s. You can't
it's the
buckle that
fucking 90s,
helmet.
Mike.
And then
I was trying not to ruin any future
yeah,
awards for
don't
myself.
you
but-
fucking do it.
So I just sat there going, yeah, well,
That's better.
yeah.
Our two storylines converge when the baddies run by and like drop money at Robert's feet as they're escaping, and the police roll up, who also know Robert, and go, back to your old Robert ways, I see. And he's like,
We just heard from the pharmacist that you used to be a bad boy.
Robert's really famous in this city. I
The
don't know
amount
why.
of crimes he must have had to commit in the first 19 years of his life for every beat cop in New York to be like, oh, finally, Robert the Rocket Racer.
just a flashback of him like digging out a cop's kneecaps with a switchblade. Like he truly, like, what would he have had to do for them to know
Again,
him
this-
this bad?
This high schooler is really done some damage.
just takes a dead cop back to the cop's family's house, puts him on the dining room table, and starts eating the cop with a napkin tucked in his shirt. That's how legendary this kid is.
That's old Robert, not the new Robert.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, he
That's
said
when he was a
sorry.
bad boy. Which
This-
his mom finally reveals at some point.
Very
It's like, why are
soon.
you so worried? Why are you so worried? The mom says, Robert used to be a very
A
bad
very
boy.
bad boy.
He's a 19-year-old who looks 30. Can we talk about him in a different way?
he used to be a
He used
very
to be
bad
very,
boy.
very bad,
This is-
bad boy.
We find out Felicia because when Robert's at the jail, who does Mrs. Farrell call? Even though nobody wears the giant hat, Mrs. Farrell calls Felicia Hardy to come help because we find out Felicia now, they've never talked about it, runs a after school and or summer science program, and Peter,
Yeah.
who does not have a lot of time on his hands, has been teaching there. What the hell,
Yeah.
show? I love it.
And they both like live for it. Like this is their giving back to the city. Like Peter's
Yeah.
like, I'm a piece of shit, and this is the way I contribute to society as I teach at this school. And I'm like, yeah, sure, you have been this whole time.
Those kids are dork ass dorks. When Peter shows up and they all are like, hey, Mr. Parker, look at my experiment. I was here early before class even started, but I'm here. Look at this. Fucking idiots.
fucking dorks, dude.
Of course, Peter does not tell any of those kids what his alter ego is, because those kids will be alive tomorrow.
Yeah, he only
and
tells the
doesn't want them
Make-A-Wish
to-
kids.
He does. All these kids are here. They're excited to see him. He walks past all of them, and he's like, "Oh my god, Robert figured out his gyroscope roller coaster. Don't worry, while we're
timing
focusing on gyroscope." Yeah, where timing is so specific, and there needs to be electrical current. That's crazy. And they're like, "Yeah, he's that's good guy Robert. He's a science boy, and he skates, and
He's
we
a
all
good boy."
respect him. He's a good boy, but he's not here today, because he's been a bad boy
Yeah.
recently."
He's at the police station where he's saying they think I'm a thief. Maybe that's what I just ought to do. That would show them. Show them what? That they're fucking right, Robert?
If we
Yeah,
cut,
dude.
yeah, if we cut all the scenes with Robert up to this point and just listen to how people talk about him, would we think he's a dog?
Yes, he's a bad boy. He's a good boy now. He's good at science.
He shreds on the skateboard.
He can play basketball, and it's not in the rules that he can't.
When they're at the school, they're like, she should be teaching. Parker just rolled in. Felicia tells him what's up, and then he goes, well, nothing's wrong that wouldn't be fixed with you going out with me. And
Yeah,
she
bold.
denies him by saying, you really are a good friend. Ooh, shot through the heart. And then this thick, fleshy-lipped, rich boy, Mr. Phillips, walks in and lays it on thick on Felicia. He's like, I might donate if you go to dinner with me. And he's supposed to be a good guy?
Yeah, we
He's a good
respect
boy.
that. At this time, we respect that because he's got money with big pockets. And she
Just the
instantly
biggest
agrees.
pockets, dragging on the ground. He keeps tripping over them.
It
At
is
one point,
so-
he keeps an entire swing set in them.
It is so soon from her being like, wow, you're such a good friend. I would never date you. She turns around. Peter is still standing right next to her, and she agrees to a date with this man with deep pockets. And I was like, yes.
Well, she doesn't know if he's a good friend, so
Yeah, there's only one way to find out.
Is Felicia a hoe? Is that what you're saying?
yeah.
No.
Oh.
Those were the exact answers I expected from both of you.
She's a modern woman and we respect her. I think this is when we cut to the grocery store that Robert is helping out. His sick mom is running a grocery store. So he
That
has,
doesn't have a pharmacy, so he has to go down the street to the pharmacy for meds.
yeah. And this store is now like these little New York little lackey guys come in, start knocking over watermelons and shit. And they're
and
like,
call her one of the worst things I've ever heard.
Yes.
A woman who owns a store. Do you remember what they called her?
Store lady.
Oh God, I was so upset on Robert and his mother's behalf. Hey, what's up, store lady?
she's an
Which
owner,
should be a
goddammit.
superheroine.
They start knocking things over, they're fucking shit up, and they're like, if you want us to protect your block from us, I guess you have to pay us. That's what's up.
Yeah, it's your classic protection racket.
Yeah.
But were you guys upset that at no point did they say it'd be a real shame if?
Yes, what the hell, guys?
You have
They're
to
new.
say that.
They're new. It'd be a real shame if somebody dropped this watermelon and they do it. Parker rolls in. He's like, "Can I help clean up?" And Robert's like, "No, we can help ourselves, and I don't need science." And Parker's like, "Wait, what? What are we talking about here?" And he calls Peter Dukes. I don't know if they were trying out like kids. He's like, "Get out of here, Dukes! I don't need your science class anymore." And I was like, "I don't know what that means." They're like creating new teenage slang.
Do you know what time this was? When this was taking place? It's when David Duke's former Klansman was popular.
And so
And
any
running
white
for
boy
office.
is Dukes.
Maybe.
Okay, that's awesome then.
then good move. Truly insane speech that this kid is giving, and Peter, as who is a teacher, should see some red flags here, and is just like, all right, well, he's not a science boy no more. He's a boy of work, and I respect this.
Boy of work.
He just works, and he can't do science no more. Okay.
The science boy has become a store man next to the store lady, and together they shall reign.
Is this like, I feel at some point we get Robert following the
Mhm.
little lackey guys to their warehouse
What do you mean following? How does he follow them?
on his sick ass skateboard, dude, where he rips some gnarly
While also
tricks.
what?
Holding onto the back bumper, Marty McFly style.
Which is called what?
Skitching.
Skitching. Skitching is in this episode. You're skating, you're hitching, you're skitching. It's all the craze in the 90s.
I just
and we're
got
all
that's
doing
why
it.
it was called skitching. I never knew.
We're all learning today.
I do like, so the bad guys walk in, and then the master thief, he's just like, "Don't buy jewelry." I thought he was gonna be like, "Hey man, you can't flaunt that we're rich now." I was like, "Because we're about to
Sure.
rob a bunch of jewelry stores."
Classic Goodfellas moment, right? Of Robert De Niro telling everybody don't buy anything extravagant
Right.
because that's going to put the heat on it.
But no.
But no, it's because we're getting it for free.
And all the lackeys just laugh. This dude doesn't feel like a fool at all for buying this
No,
ring.
he's like, yeah, whatever. And then Big Wheel says this: "The credo I live by as a master thief is the same as when I was an aeronautical engineer. Timing is everything." What up, Mr. Exposition?
They throw it in so well. This is a
If you were the
talent I wish
producers
I
of
had.
Madam Web, would you be clipping that and airing it and saying like, "Look, Spider-Man
It's always
has
been dumb."
dumb."
It's done this always. But yeah, he's too busy talking about timing. So Robert's able to sneak on by and go to like their back area where they hide all their gyroscope technology and a backpack. Two things he needed equally important.
Which is, I think it's similar to last week's episode, that Nate and Mike, you know what, poorly covered.
Ouch.
I've done 2 compliments.
Yeah.
Even though I thought you guys did a great job, it's time to insult. Where Norman Osborn ends up in a room that, oh, look at that mask and costume for me. Oh, and it just got painted green. Let's do it.
Thanks, Magic Gas.
And now what he does to create his Rocket Racer persona doesn't seem that different than what he was doing when he was a good boy.
Yeah.
Right? He's just going to use it to go buy crime because his mom walks in and just says, I'm so glad he's still working on his projects.
Yeah.
He's back to his science boy. The science boy is back.
But
in
now
the
he's a
room.
very bad science boy.
Yeah, he's taking it all. He's making his little costume. He's making his skateboard magnetic now. It's fucking rad.
That is fucking
Do you guys feel out like throughout this entire episode, there's multiple parts that we can point out, but just throughout this entire episode, the writers were so like impressed by themselves and also scared shitless to include a black character or an entire black family.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a waste of time to just talk about how the past was more racist than the present? Or is it important to note that like they can't handle not bringing up his blackness throughout the entire episode?
While Robbie Robertson sits in the corner and is like, "I'm black. You guys never talk about that."
You're a news reporter. You're not black at all.
Yeah, it's a part of his whole thing, and they're really it's thick throughout all of this. And then we immediately go. So he's making his costume, and he's like, I got to turn to crime now because this is what the people expect of me. So I'm going to use my science tech to be a crime boy, and he goes to steal jewelry. In the middle of this, he gets all the way to the store. He breaks through the glass, grabs a little necklace, and then he realizes that he shouldn't be. This life's not for him.
This
Mama
is really
wouldn't want
whack,
this.
man. This is so
is-
wrong. And I quote.
I'm
was-
doing an electric boogaloo right now.
It was too whack.
And then he flashes back, man. Oh no, that's in a different thing. He flashes back to all of these parts where his mom told him how much faith she has in them.
Yeah.
And then in one of the parts, it's Butcher without Harry Dean Morgan. Harry Dean Stanton? What's his name?
I think it's Harry Gin Stanton, based on the bar I found in Spain.
That's it.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan
Yeah.
is
Jeffrey Dean Morgan
the-
isn't even there.
But I didn't get to brag about going to Spain if I just said Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
He's a world traveler, and the people need to know. Yeah, and then so he's like, I'm giving this up. Unfortunately, he's already tripped silent alarms because he's not good at crime.
And the like silent alarm monitor, and because if we're doing this, has the thickest accent that I'm sure we'll talk about in the awards in the fucking world.
Yeah,
How does it sound?
Hey, yeah, there's some kid breaking into our jewelry store.
well, Sector 3.
And she's a lady.
This is a lady.
Oh, Andrea Dice Clay. I remember her.
And
Hickory
she also-
dickory dock.
She also
He
apparently...
also, like, with all of this equipment that he's so good at science and gyroscoping, timing, and skateboards. Mask? Could
Nope.
we have
No.
invented a mask?
No, just the same helmet that he's been using this whole time. That's all he
Which
needs.
Spider-Man, in fairness, he is wearing his helmet, and Spider-Man does not recognize who he is.
Well,
Yeah.
to somebody, to a Duke like Peter Parker, all these Robert type kids look the same.
Yeah, we have all the police force after this kid. Also the news have got the call at the same time. So there's a
my
helicopter
God.
after him.
Living in Southern California for a lot of our lives, we have seen so many chases, right? Post-crime chases. But to watch a crime live in action,
Yeah.
that is a hell of a news channel.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're here live at the bank or the jewelry store while the jewelry store robber is robbing the jewelry store.
New York
That's
One
good TV.
is always on it. That very
Me?
local news channel to New York City.
What's his name? Pat Davis?
It's Pat Davis,
That guy who's been in a million movies? You know who I'm talking
Wolf
about?
Blitzer.
Yeah, Wolf Blitzer. Thank you.
Robert gets stuck on the bottom of a newly constructed elevator.
Pat Kiernan.
Yeah.
Pat Kiernan, of course. Pat Kiernan Culkin. And then the elevator is going down, looking like he's going to crush him, and Spider-Man can't stop it, so he finds the button. That's how he so he just punches through the elevator and presses the stop button.
A real high stakes thing. He's like, I can't. The magnets are stuck. I'm stuck to this elevator. The news is still reporting it. Like, oh wow, crazy turn. Spider-Man just climbs up to the top of the elevator and pushes the stop button. And he's like,
Because
Let
I
me
never
see if
realized
this
the power
works."
of I never realized the power of one finger. And it
Yeah.
flashes back to all of his dates with MJ and Felicia.
Where they're like, too many fingers. And he goes, I don't know what else to do.
I don't know what else to do. I don't know why he's Katharine Hepburn when he's
Everybody has their thing. When Robert gets off, he holds everybody up with like a laser gun or whatever the fuck. Then he escapes, but his mom sees this on the news, and her health
Mhm.
really kicks in right there. I want one of these health conditions where it's guilt based for who will it hurt the most to let them know I knew what they did, and that's when I go to the hospital.
Luckily, Robert's mom's living room has 17 fainting couches.
Yeah.
So she's fine. Wherever she's standing, she has a place to stand when she sees her young son on the news. We have to stop calling him boy. It's bothering
We
me
didn't
a
do
lot.
it.
We didn't do this. At this point, we then have he's been plastered on the news, like he's on the front of the newspaper, like it's like Robert
Extra,
back
extra.
at crime, mom back in hospital. It's all going down. We then see the big wheel guy.
Yeah.
Then finds out looks at his cameras. He sees the newspaper. He's like, "This is the same kid. We got to go after him." So they all go to do that.
Yeah, it's so Big Wheel's doing stuff. Spider-Man found the garbage at some point. When Robert gets home, Felicia's there and is like, yeah, your mom saw what you're doing on the news probably. So we got to go there. Then Big Wheel's going to show up. Spider-Man shows up and Robert's like, no way you take off your mask and you're in a neighborhood like this, my man. So he's calling out his white privilege. And then it gets fuzzy. I was hoping somebody else would take over from there. Oh, she peels off. They're like, there's like a chase, right? Felicia's going this way. Robert's going this way. Spidey's going this way. And then she peels out with Robert as Big Wheel yells, I want my technology back, skate punk.
Which is almost as offensive as store lady.
Yeah.
To be called a skate punk in this day and age.
If the insult is what you do and then a noun, that's hurtful.
It's gonna hurt. I think Spider-Man saves Big Wheel's shooting lasers and stuff at him. Spider-Man saves him, and while they're up on a building, this is when Robert realizes there's a potential for science around, because there's a little loose wire shooting out electricity, and that's enough to fuck up a little gyroscope wheel if he knows anything.
Which is just one step more clever than unplugging the big wheel.
Yes.
Just one
Do you need to be a scientist?
noticeable thing.
So they work together. They make the wheel roll over it. It shocks Mr. Big Wheel guy inside, and
he says, "My gyroscope, the timing mechanism, it's ruined," and wheels right into the harbor.
People think that this is a bit that we're doing about the timing of the gyroscope. It's the entire episode.
He only talks about timing. It means so much.
It's everything.
It's everything to him. But don't worry, Spider-Man doesn't let this man drown in his big wheel. He does save him. He takes him out from the wheel, and just the wheel goes in the harbor.
In the harbor.
This is when Robert has a realization that, you know what? Science is good, and he can use science.
I guess it pays to know that science after all, and to use what you know responsibly. Arms crossed back to back with Spider-Man.
The more you know. He just the guy dreams of taking one beaker and pouring it into another beaker, and I think that's amazing.
He needs it.
And then he goes to the Big Wheel, confesses to the cops. I don't know why, but he's like, yeah, it was all me. Timing.
Well, hold on. The guy who drives the big wheel. I would have loved the big wheel to come in there and have a mouth and confess.
My bad. I guess, yes, I'm sorry that we've used big wheel interchangeably, both for the vehicle and the man who invented and drives it.
Until the moment where I thought of a funny situation, Mike, and then I had to interrupt you. Do you not understand how podcasting works?
And then Robert goes to confess to his mom, but his confession is being like, hey, sorry, I did all that. He says, I guess I am a scientist at heart.
And then her disease just goes into the ether, and she is healed forever.
So she's the biggest villain.
Because her boy is back to good, so she's totally fine now. We then cut to the store, and all the robot guys, his little lackeys, are there, and they're gonna burn the place down to set an example of this store owner. Thank you very much. But Spider-Man's already there. Robert's there. Spider-Man puts a dude up in a net. Robert just trips a guy.
Yeah. And then Spidey says, do you guys know what Spider-Man says here after they're all in a net hanging in the air?
I wanted to save this for later, but please go ahead, Mike.
He says, I always did want to hang with the homeboys. And then we get a weird cut to Wormlip Jason, who just went on another date with Felicia. And she goes, there is nobody else now. So I guess she's dating this fucking weird rich guy who just came into her life.
Yeah, it's a weird moment. It's at the end of the date, and he's like, how'd it go? And she's like, honestly, pretty bad. I didn't really like it, but I guess I have nobody else. And then they kiss, and that is the episode.
Love.
To me, in my head, that's every reality show, is that exact dialogue.
That was the episode, though, so let's go ahead and go to our awards. We're going to start this off with Best Web Zinger. Mike, what do you got for it?
Is it best? Is best the word here? Because it is.
Mine's not the best.
It is. I'm sorry, Ryan. It might have been what we just said. It is. I always did want to hang with the homeboys. So it's the most groan-inducing web zinger.
Mm-hmm.
And look,
Spider-Man is what? Spider-Man has basically stepped aside from all of just the slightly surface level racism from every character for this entire episode, and then at the end to deliver that fucking haymaker.
Yeah,
that is absolutely the zinger.
He's hung so many dudes in nets. But he's just no, I know how to connect to the black youth next to me. I will say this.
Robert will really like Spider-Man after this.
All I wanted after that was the camera to like zoom in on Spider-Man's face and just be like, "My name is Spider-Man, and I'm here to say I love catching crooks in a major way."
Ryan, you're in agreement. This is the web zinger. Mine, it's not really. It doesn't fit as well for it. I just still freaking loved that Robert stopped midway from stealing things and decided that this was now whack. It brought me a lot of joy. But I'm gonna give 2 points to both of you guys for being in agreement. Let's go to Kung Fu Grip or Best Mover Power. Ryan, what do you got?
There's this part where it's towards the beginning where the big wheel is keeping on turning and it almost crushes Spider-Man, but then it does like this weird cut to maybe CGI thing where Spider-Man somersaults 64 times in a row on screen.
He can big wheel too, baby.
And then he's in a hole in the top of the building that I don't know where that hole came from. I guess the big wheel created it, and he's like, "Damn, that's a big wheel." That the 64 somersaults is something that I'm going to try to work on because I think I can learn that.
You got it. I have faith in you. Mike, what do you got?
My Kung Fu Grip is Spidey is chasing this boy who just invented his floating skateboard that day. And the kid does a turn and burns Spider-Man's webbing off his skateboard, dropping Spider-Man right into a dumpster. Good move, Robert. Good fucking move, man.
Get fucking wrecked, dude.
Okay, so earlier in the segment, you were like, Spider-Man ends up in a dumpster somehow. You did know how. Are we ruining our first segment just to protect our awards?
Ruining? No.
No.
For Best Mover Power, those were great ones you guys brought up, but obviously the best power is the power of precise timing. If we've learned anything, guys.
I mean, it's science.
It's science. But I do think I'm going to give myself the points for that one, and I'm going to give myself 3 for that one, because timing is powerful. Let's go to most 90s thing. Mike, what do you got for it?
It's Robert. It's everything about Robert. It just is. It's this Burger King Club Kids reject.
Ryan, what do you got?
I have to go with Skitchin.
Hell
the second that the bad guys were getting in their car to drive away, I was like, this motherfucker's gonna skitch. He's gonna skitch. And it happened, and I was so excited.
And then dreams came true. For most 90s thing, I have specifically the wub wub sound that they used to put on his hover skateboard, so we knew it was a hoverboard. It was just the peak.
That's it. That's the sound.
There's another line too. Honorable mention. He's too stoked to be stopped. Somebody's trying so hard right there.
I'm gonna give that award to Ryan though because it was the closest to mine. I mean that's just the rules, and that's what I have to follow here. Our next one is going to be New York is a character. Ryan, what do you got for it?
So many, Cassie. There have been multiple episodes this season where like it's all in a warehouse or lab, so we don't get a lot of New York. This one there was so many, but I have to go with the cops saying, "Oh, look at old Robert up to his old tricks." And as they close on him, the camera stays there and just waits for the NYPD badge, in case you didn't know who these costumed officers were, to just get into the camera. And basically, ACAB, this episode, right? Of course, the NYPD would take away somebody who's a hero and turn him into a villain. That is their only job as police officers, to fund the police. That's my moment.
Powerful. Mike, what do you got for New York?
Hey, yo, we got a silent alarm going off.
Yeah.
I'm a lady.
Yeah. They have one voice actor that they call in to do all the New York things. It doesn't matter how the artists are going to draw the
His
character.
name is Bernie.
There's one guy, and he will voice them all. For New York, I have the lackeys, one of them instantly going out to buy a ridiculous ring after robbing a bank. Like, that was stop number 1 for him, and it just felt like a very New York thing. He just got a ring with, like, a little pearl on it, and I was like, this fucking kicks ass. It's a rad ass
It probably
ring.
was for him and his pinky. Man, do they love those pinky rings.
I love those pinky rings. I'm going to give that one to Mike, though. And, Mike, I'm going to give you 2 points for it.
Thank you.
Cherish those. Now there's a round for bonus points here if somebody can compliment me and it's a nice compliment and I like it and it makes me feel good about myself. Ryan, what do you have?
We discussed a line where Spider-Man says, "I never realized the power of one finger." And that Spider-Man uses it in a different way than Cassie does. I just to pull back some curtain and let people know how the podcast goes. Cassie is a big flipper offer. She is giving me and Mike the silent middle finger all of the time because of our shenanigans, and I just thought the power of her finger reminded me of the power of Spider-Man's finger because you love to flip the bird.
Yeah, it's the only way to keep you guys in line. It's the only thing you guys respect.
And we're horrified by it. Like every time you do it, we're like, shut up.
This is it. All right, Mike, your turn to compliment me.
After Spider-Man's in the garbage, he had put a tracer in Robert, and he shows back up, and Robert says, "Spider-Man, how'd you find me? I left you licking diesel exhaust." And Cassie loves cars, new listeners, and so she's constantly licking diesel exhaust, and that made me think of her.
Hell yeah, dude. You know what, Mike? I don't know where the compliment is in there, but you're absolutely right. 5 points for you, which is going to take this total. Ryan, you got
Mike's
3 points.
first points for Cassie compliment, by the way.
It's true.
Is me
The nicest
huffing
thing I've
diesel.
ever said about you is you lick diesel exhaust.
If there's one thing people need to know about me, it's that. And at the end of this, Ryan, me and you tied, and Mike got a bunch of points because of his compliment. I'm not going to do the math, but he simply won this. He took it. He's a
Adding
Spider-Man
5
boy.
to something. How could you do that?
Nobody's
too
ever done
hard,
math that hard.
Just use timing.
I'm potentially out of fingers, so I just can't figure it out because I have to be flipping you guys off, and that's important. That is it for the show, though. Please subscribe, follow wherever you get your podcasts, or catch every episode on YouTube at Your Pop Filter. There's some more websites. Mike, can you tell the people about them?
Yeah, popfilter.co is our main base. Everything we do is there. Popfilter.co/Amazon. That's how you shop now. Those are the cybersprout.net. Go back to there.
It's a great one. Love that one. We also have some other shows on the network, and by other shows, I mean one show. Ryan, please tell the people about it.
Movie of the year is our other show. Please listen. We have had such a wonderful season going through the year of 1984. Recently, we have had Adam Kempenaar from Film Spotting do
Whoa.
Karate Kid, and we have had Pete Wright. Did his episode come out?
Pete's episode is
That's tomorrow.
coming
No,
up.
it will be out when this airs.
It will have just come out a couple days ago. And then this week,
That's The Terminator.
what's coming out this week?
The Terminator.
Terminator.
Oh, and then next week,
Action figure
is
draft.
action figure draft.
That is movie of the year. Check it out. Subscribe, follow over there. We're also on social media. You can find us at Your Pop Filter on Instagram. We also have an email, contact@popfilter.co. Send us any questions you have, any comments, no concerns. We have enough concerns ourselves. Don't need more of those. Next week, we will be talking about The Boys, I'm pretty sure. Continuing that. And we're also going to be talking about Superman. Both are coming closer to their season finales. So we're going to be talking about that. That's it for this show, though. For Mike, I'm Ryan. For Ryan, I'm Mike. For me, I'm me. Bye, everyone.